Hello, and welcome to Getting to Know ACS with Tracy
and Jasmine.
So today we are going to be talking with my BFF, Steve Roumell from Mobilization and Deployment, also known as MOBDEP. So, Steve, I have to ask you, to be completely honest, MOBDEP is probably the program that I know least about.
Me too. Okay. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Because you know what? Word on the street is MOBDEP don't do jack. So, we
hope my boss doesn't see that. Okay.
But we're going to dispel that rumor today. We're going to talk about what is it that mobilization and deployment actually does. So if you can give us a little overview.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So first of all, just to put it in a nutshell, it's anything we can do to help increase the readiness of deploying soldiers and families. And with that, the sort of capstone programs we have is anything dealing with Family Readiness Group. That's normally headed by Wendy Ramos. And we all have to do each other's job from time to time, but we have, primary things. But so, having a strong FRG certainly helps when the troops are deployed.
Okay, so I'm going to slow you down right there. What's the FRG?
Family Readiness Group, and we call it SFRG now, Soldier Family Readiness Group.
Okay, because some people don't know those acronyms, and we're trying to
some people don't know ACS, so I'm glad we're doing these things.
Yeah. So go ahead. Continue.
Yeah, so we've got the FRG component, which also they teach CFRRs. Now I'm going to try to get this right. Command Family Readiness Representative. And that is a green suiter. It used to be the what we call the FRISs, the Family Readiness Support Assistants, but they're now green suitors, and those are our direct links. We have what's called, by the way, a lot of this, how we outreach is driven by our USC program, Unit Service Coordinator.
Well, you got a lot of acronyms.
Oh, we did. Well, this is the military, and I'm retired, so I'm comfortable.
We can tell because you're throwing them out there like, whoa.
Yeah, no kidding.
So the USCs.
Yeah, the units they have a direct link and pipeline to the CFRRs, and normally they're like E6s, E7s, and lieutenants. We track them at battalion level and brigade level.
Okay.
And we have some low-density units and some other branches of service like the Air Force. But the thrust is that we send them sort of value-added information like when Mikasa Walk, Run for the Fallen, parent support, things like that. And they, in turn, they are required to sort of let us know when they're deploying, when they're redeploying, things like that. Because we have to do required pre-deployment briefs, and they're required by Headquarters Department of the Army. Okay,
so what would that pre-deployment brief, what would that look like?
Sure. First of all, there are 4 required courses. By the way, it takes maybe an hour and 40 minutes at the most.
Okay.
So we've got Red Cross, legal, financial readiness, and child youth services. USO, we teach Hearts Apart, and AER.
Okay.
So those are things that we package together, and it's our responsibility to bring the outside subject matter experts together, like legal and so forth.
Okay.
Post-finance, to get them together to do a brief. We orchestrate the agenda, send it to the unit. They're responsible for the venue, setting up any IT. And then, of course, we organize the briefers, and we brief ourselves. And it has to be done within a 90-day window from their advanced party stepping off.
Right.
And we do this. We do little things like that aren't required for OCONUS missions, like when they go to NTC or JRTC.
And what is OCONUS?
Don't ask me.
It's stateside.
Stateside. Well, OCONUS is, far, deploying outside the country.
Okay.
CONUS
is stateside.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, audience.
But that's part of learning. So go ahead.
Now I'm gonna have to go look it up and see what those mean.
But OCONUS is overseas.
Yeah.
And CONUS is stateside. Okay.
Yeah.
So what you're saying to me right now sounds like it has a lot to do with the soldier. So what is the benefit of mobilization and deployment for the family members?
Glad you asked.
Yeah. Right.
First of all, one of the things that we highly reinforce with the unit is to invite their spouses and other family members to these pre-deployment briefings. Because quite frankly, much of the information that is passed out, the spouse has to execute.
Right.
And we know if we just brief soldiers, from the time I first came in the Marine Corps in 1976 to now.
Oh, you're old.
I do like to say I was born during the Eisenhower administration.
I'm just messing with you.
But yeah. Or when I can't get a certain bit of technology, I'm like, I'm a baby boomer. But no, so they have to execute a lot of that stuff. So we want to make sure that they show up so they understand what it is to do, to not just, our goal, for all of ACS, by the way, is to not just have spouses survive, but sort of, thrive.
I love that.
Yeah.
Survive, not thrive. Thrive, not survive.
That's right. Through the deployment. Another thing is Zena Molina teaches the care team. Now, care team is those volunteers that are handpicked by the battalion commander. They are a unit that we train based on their individual skill sets to help a spouse out should they lose a soldier or is critically injured. And they have to be requested. They just don't automatically come, and they're not a casualty notification.
Right.
But it could be to take the kids to school and pick them up, cook meals, pick up folks from the airport, anything to sort of, blunt the stress, in those most challenging of times. That's what we do. The other thing, and this is on a requested basis, not required, but we have a community resource brief.
Oh, okay.
And Mo does that as well for the most part. And that he highlights in their briefing the services that sort of plug the holes that ACS doesn't quite cover. One example would be the Child Crisis Center.
We talked about that.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
Well, by the way, if you've never taken a tour, it's just off post. If you've never taken a tour, I highly recommend it.
Okay.
It's a very modern, clean facility.
Yes.
They really love the kids, too. And they can stay there from, I think it's 72 hours to a year.
Oh, a year.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they extended it.
Jasmine that.
And but to me, we talk about the Child Crisis Center because I look at it as a readiness issue.
Yeah.
Being, as part of your family care plan, because the spouse that stays back normally takes care of the kids, right?
Right.
What if that spouse is in a car accident and it takes a couple days for grandma and grandpa to get out here to take care of the kids? Where do the kids go? Mm-hmm. Sometimes there is no option other than the Child Crisis Center.
Right.
So they'll take them. And by the way, it's all free. They work off donations and grants, things like that nature. So it's a really good organization. I tell many FRG groups, go take a tour. They are very willing to do that. So the community resource brief covers so much of that. Outside resources outside of ACS on 4+, and obviously in the greater community.
Right.
So, we do all of that. So we have what's called reintegration.
Right.
So when units come back, there are certain required classes they have to take. We also teach the rear detachment command. We call it's actually call it CCFSPCC.
Oh, that one.
It took me
Alphabet soup.
Yeah, it took me a month of Sundays to remember that.
Yeah.
But it's the Company Commander First Sergeant Career Course.
I love how you just spit that out there quick.
Well,
I have to
that's
Google.
my baby.
Okay. So it's like, let me get there.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's where we brief the entire, their training goes on for like an entire week, and we have like an afternoon between MWR and ACS to talk about our programs.
Right.
I talk about all the ACS programs and our op-ready stuff, specific rear detachment commander stuff and first sergeant stuff. And then we have, to go into detail, we have our FAP folks, family advocacy,
right,
and our financial readiness people get into the weeds about those two things, because those are the most critical things affecting not just families, but all soldiers as well. So, and that reminds me of something. Given those things, there is a survey or some analysis done by some of the ASAP folks.
Okay.
And
Army Substance Abuse Program.
Yeah, yeah. In conjunction with another psychiatric sort of group, I can't remember the name, but they've identified those problems 7 months out from deployments.
Okay.
Yeah, people start getting antsy. There's more domestic violence, screaming, financial challenges, and
right.
And so what we're trying to do right now and roll out as we're part of this installation progress report team. To roll out a new initiative using the USCs, Unit Service Coordinators, as the venue to roll this program out to say, hey, contact a unit before they're going to deploy 9 months out to say, let's schedule some, we send surveys out too. So the commanders can identify their acute weaknesses, if you will. And so then we link them up with the proper subject matter expert to address those areas. So that's another layer on how we're trying to assist families, soldiers, single soldiers. By the way, I do want to make a comment about single solgers.
Make that comment,
I'm going to make that comment. Listen up. Listen good.
Oh, my gosh.
When anytime we all can give an ACS overview, right? I added a slide that says single soldiers, so what? Because every time we brief, when we say families, family programs,
and they're like, I don't have no family.
Light switch goes off. But what are we really talking about? The Army family, right?
Okay.
So I specifically note things like AER.
Army Emergency
Relief. Yeah, you're going to have to help me with these because I just roll these up.
You see, I'm just sliding them right in there.
Yeah. ERP.
Oh, employment readiness problem. Like, wait a minute, he threw me off.
Is this a test?
I know.
Yeah, okay. But, in case they ETS, and so other pointed programs that specifically they could have interest in. And I talk about how, hey, look, you need to know this stuff because at some point you may be a leader. Like all these guys, I'll tell you right now, when they come back from deployment, they're in E4, they're like, oh, I'm getting out. 16 years later, they got a diamond right there.
Okay.
They're first sergeants, So at some point, they're going to be policy influencers. And if you're an officer, you're a policy maker. So we try to bring these things out for our single soldiers because we want them to know we're not forgetting about them.
Right.
It's for them as well. So that's part of a lot of what we do at MoDep. It is outreach.
Okay, so that's the main focus of mobilization and deployment is outreach and making sure that the families are ready, like a family readiness group, making sure because, the old adage is as soon as your soldier leaves, that's when everything starts to go wrong, Oh,
no, absolutely, yes. So see us before you have, pay me now or pay me later.
Exactly.
Right? Later is always more expensive. And we embrace the entire military community. As a matter of fact, I have a meeting. We have an Air Force contingent here from the 149th Fighter Wing, right, out of San Antonio. They're here for I think 6 months or something like that. But we also have reserve units here whom we cater to. So I have a meeting with their family program readiness manager. And a wing, by the way, just so you know, is like a brigade size.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and a squadron is like a battalion size. Just to kind of oversimplify, they have 2 security squadrons here. So she called me and says, hey, I'd like to talk to see what is it that ACS can do for our folks on the ground while they're here.
Right.
So, outreach is sort of the cornerstone of what we do.
And that's why, and that pretty much explains why the USC, the Unit Service Coordinators, why they fall under mobilization and deployment because they're all about outreach. Yeah. So I have another question, Steve, that I know that you guys, that mobilization and deployment is also involved in, and that's the EFAC, the Emergency Family Assistance Center.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about the EFAC and when that would be stood up?
Yeah. I'll tell you, it is if there is a natural or man-made disaster or emergency,
right?
It does take either the senior mission commander, which is the general, or post commander, or if it's given down to the garrison commander level, we have to gain approval to stand up the EFAC. But the EFAC think of it as a kind of a sanctuary during those times. Whether we have a massive flood, freeze, active shooter, things like that, they can come to us, one, for information, because we get pretty much the quickest updates from public affairs.
Okay.
The other thing is, it's a place that people can come and say, and kind of look. Here's my family member there, that sort of thing.
Okay.
So it's safety, information, and what we try to do. Now, my job is to go to when these happen. I go to the Emergency Operations Center.
Okay.
And Tony Castagnolo used to operate the EFAC.
Right.
He's a great guy. He's up at Division now. But now, Randall Jones is now going to run our EFAC.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's retired Navy, which I tell him it's almost like being in the military. So, anyway, moving on. Randall.
We digress.
Yeah. So he's got that. So what we do is we communicate with the EOC and the EFAC.
Okay,
They
the
tell me
EOC?
the Emergency Operations Center,
okay.
up at Division.
Okay.
And so we sort of like go back and forth as to, what we can do to help. They give me updates on what's going on with them. And we have to brief the senior mission commander or the garrison commander and the battle captain up there.
Okay.
So everybody kind of knows what everybody's doing, and we also bring to bear at the Red Cross and USO to bring Class 1 food and water, Class 1 supplies,
Right.
to the first responders.
Okay.
Wherever they're staged at. So it's a real collaborative kind of.
It's a community effort. Pretty much.
No, absolutely, yeah. And we work very closely in many sort of instances with CYS as well.
Okay.
Do we need to evacuate the children? Things like that.
I see.
So it's things are happening. When the balloon goes up, so to speak.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we've dispelled the rumor
That they didn't do anything.
that they didn't do anything. We thought you were just sitting over there, just
No.
over at the
I tell
Family
you,
Resilience
this
Center
is
not
taking
doing
a lot
anything.
out of me. I'm going to take a nap after this, so don't tell anyone.
But you gave us a lot of great information,
Yeah.
and like I said, I think even for me, like I said, as long as I've been here, mobilization and deployment, I knew the least amount about.
Yeah.
So I think you kind of, in a nutshell, a very tight little nutshell, should I say, that you kind of gave us a good overview of what all
Thank
you guys do.
Thanks for helping with the acronyms too. Just throwing those out like candy.
Hey, I had to get my voice in here
Yeah.
some kind of way.
Are you saying I talk too much?
Never.
And you said don't freeze.
And you
There you
didn't
go.
freeze. There you go. So, Steve, one of the questions that we like to ask when we're coming to the end of our podcast, that we like to ask our guests is, you work for ACS, so tell me, what brings you the most joy working at ACS?
Oh, geez. First of all, the job satisfaction I get and how it's framed.
Okay.
In other words, I am not the kind of guy that we talked about this earlier. I don't want to see client after client, like kind of, you know what I mean? And those other jobs that have to do that are critical. So I get to go out and, explore, outreach, talk to units, things of that nature, get a feeling for what they need, pass on information. We even pass on information we go right sometimes to the brigade commander, who really appreciates a lot of this stuff that we provide.
Right.
So it's just the matter in which we have to execute our duties that I absolutely love. And our boss does give us, the kind of free rein to take initiative. And I tell you, when you can take initiative and you do well, you feel fulfilled. I feel fulfilled.
Aw, look at you feeling fulfilled. Well, Steve, again, thank you so much for joining us today and giving us this great information about mobilization and deployment. And, we may have you come back on again and talk a little more, because I can tell you're very passionate.
Yeah. Sorry if I came up a little too zealous.
No, that's great. And we love it, because that just shows how much you love ACS and what you do. So,
Yeah.
But with that being said, again, thank you so much for joining us today. So this is Getting to Know ACS.
Getting to know ACS. It's right there.
It's like it's right there. Getting to Know ACS with Tracy
And Jasmine, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell. Bye.
Bye.